What's up? What's up? Welcome to Lefty Cards episode 4. Technically, even though on a technicality, I will reach out and explain why we did not go last week. Connor and I did record a video for episode 4, and we were supposed to release it last Monday. And then I had a family emergency that I needed to take care of, and so I wasn't able to release it. And then we talked about said family emergency on the podcast, and so I just decided not to go there. And then I was just like, okay, so we will be using that podcast. Probably we'll chop and edit some of that for some Instagram videos, but this is true episode 4 of Lefty Cards with none other than Chase Tyler Crim, or whatever your name is, from Texas Roadshow. Glad to be back, brother. Back in the saddle, back home. As you can see, I'm in my room and I'm ready to talk cards with you. How are you?
Dude, I'm just excited to talk cards with you. It's been a while.
I know it has. Man, we are truly excited. This is the second episode that I've done with Crim, and one that I want to be in more regular repetition with. How we will go forward, at least for the foreseeable future, is I will have Crim, and then we'll go Connor, and then we'll have Crim, and then we might do Crim and Turner, so we can have Turner in some sort of a rotation based on Crim, or maybe we'll just do me and Turner going forward. But that's how we roll out the 4 weeks of a month. And so Crim is my right-hand man here in Lefty Cards, and we want or left-handed. I don't even know if you're left-handed.
This was my right hand.
Okay,
I don't know. It might be mirrored.
It is mirrored. It is your left, but I figured it might be your right. But we're excited about it. But first, let me talk about nooffseason.com, because they've brought us here and established me as a podcaster, and I just couldn't do this without them. So a free 30-day trial membership at nooffseason.com gives you a Friday edition of the Sports Card Strategy Show called The Overflow Show. It's a premium podcast for members only every Friday, and you can ask an unlimited amount of questions to build your sports card investment portfolio. And if that's not enough reason for you to sign up for a free 30-day trial today, you get Sports Card School, which we've worked a ton on, and to try to get you over some of the simple humps in sports card strategy. So there's a ton of premium members only articles. Sign up today, nooffseason.com. Again, thanks for Paul and Connor out there at No Off Season, getting me ready for Lefty Cards and putting us on the network as well. All right, Crim, we're here. We're ready to rock and roll. It is April the 22nd. We are 2 days before the NFL draft. How are you feeling about just how your cards and the NFL draft have come together?
Dude, I'm excited. I think, unfortunately, I sold all my Caleb Williams to you and Paul.
Yeah.
So I don't really have like a card rooting interest per se, but I'm going out to the Sacramento show this weekend, and so Thursday I'm flying in. I'm gonna be hanging out with the twins that run California Roadshow the night of the draft. So just excited to hang out with them. It beats watching it on your couch by yourself. So.
Yeah, that's true. So we have a lot to talk about, especially in the football section in relation to the draft. So I'm not going to go too far into that right now, but I'm excited that you're going to get to go up to Sacramento. I've met the twins before. I like them. I couldn't tell you at all which one is which. And so I hope you have some sort of differentiation of how you tell the difference.
I do.
If not, good luck. But rooting for you as you go up onto Sacramento. How often do you visit the other shops?
So this is my first time going to Cali. I've never been to New York, and I've been to Kentucky once while I was training. So not too often, honestly.
So the only other time that you've been to another shop, I saw you there.
Yeah, and you saw me, yeah.
And just for what it's worth, did Trey come to see you?
Yeah, you came in with Trey. Or has Trey, the Kentucky guy, come in, or our friend Trey from WT?
Oh, no, Trey from WT. Sorry,
yes.
The Trey from Kentucky Roadshow.
He came with you, yeah. I think Jimmy gave him a card or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He gave him 2 Halans. Those ended up both gymming, actually. for
Dang.
Trey. So he ended up making some pretty good on a
I'll
free
tell you
card.
what, it's rare you get raw cards from Jimmy that are in good shape. So
That's what I figured. That's what I figured. So favorite recent card story from you, Crim. That's what we usually start off with, but I wanted to do something a little bit different this week. So Turner got interested in UFC cards recently, and I've been walking with Turner through this whole process of getting a sports card portfolio together. And so then about 2-3 months ago, he texted me and he goes, "Hey, text Crim and ask him what UFC cards I should be getting into." And I think I ended up texting you, and it was just like, a couple of names or whatever. But it's something that's really caught his eye. And the second episode, I believe, we talked about UFC. We talked about how he has hey, FC Horsey Boys says he still has them. So there you go. He hasn't profited on them. What's up, Horsey? So we were able to kind of talk about how Topps was doing a buyback. And I'm just interested, one, if you had any thoughts into the buyback thing that Topps is doing in regards to UFC. And then would love to hear what you think the UFC card market is currently at from a collector or an investor standpoint. And I kind of know a little bit, so just be as honest as you want to be. And then I want to ask you some other questions about UFC and wrestling going forward. So go ahead and start with the buyback.
So buyback, for those that don't know, so UFC just had UFC 300, and like every 100th one, they just put on like an insane show where basically everyone on the cards ranked or a top rookie or something along those lines. So they had a buyback similar to baseball, and it was the main event. So whoever won the main event between Pereira and Jamal Hill, they were the ones that got the buyback. So instead of baseball where you had two guys, it's just one. So I think that was kind of a downer because they could have done the main event and then they could have done Gaethje Holloway, and obviously Max Holloway won. So I feel like they could have done two guys. So from the shop perspective, it wasn't too popular. But it gives people a chance to turn base cards into money. Which is a pro, and then Top buys them from shops, so from us, and so that's a pro as well. And then what was the next part of that question? Sorry.
I just wanted you to talk about UFC cards for a second, but before you do that, I'm going to jump in because I caught a interesting thing. I watched UFC 100 and I watched UFC 200. I didn't watch UFC 300 just because of my family emergency, but I wanted to. And Holloway is probably my favorite UFC fighter right now. And so I'm just curious, can you name me the one fighter that was in UFC 100 and UFC 200?
Well, I can name you one that was in 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, all right.
And he lost to Bobby Green, who's my boy. So
who was it then?
Was it Jim Miller, I think? Is that his name? He's an old head. I don't know the old heads too well, but
I'm just looking at the main card, so I don't know actually if he was.
So Jim Miller was a big. It was a big thing because
he was,
100,
he was
200, and 300.
Yep.
That was like a big storyline, and then he got knocked around pretty bad. So
wow, the undercard of. So I'm looking now at the undercard, not at the main card of UFC 100, and John Jones was in the undercard.
Yeah, we should hopefully see him later this year. So.
Yeah. So Jim Miller was in the undercard. John Jones was in the undercard. What are these other names down here that I know? Do you remember Stephan Bonner?
That might just be it, honestly.
Anyway, so the guy who I'm referring to that was in 1 and 2 and not in 3 was Brock Lesnar. Fought in 100 against Frank Mir, and then 200 against Mark Hunt. I got to be careful with that name.
Yeah,
Mark Hunt.
Now he's canceled. So
now he's canceled, but it is a good transition for where I want to go eventually. So go ahead and give me the overall state of UFC cards right now from your opinion.
Okay. So it is in quite the limbo right now because Topps just got the license from Panini. Um, so similar to what we're going to see in baseball and basketball, and also like those Topps had previously owned the license. So it went back to Topps. The only thing that's come out so far is Topps Chrome UFC. So just like the flagship stuff. And honestly, the resale value hasn't been there on Topps Chrome 2024 singles. Um, Now they didn't get the best of rookies. From what I understood, it was kind of put together last second, and the checklist was. And Panini tried to get like as many rookies in 2023 as possible because they knew they were losing the license. So that's unfortunate, but like now it's really just like the hot rookies are the ones that are like getting a lot of sales. So like Bo Nickel's the hottest name right now, which he fought on 300. He has 2023 rookies. And those things have been going crazy. Sean O'Malley's been going crazy as well. I know he had like a black 1-on-1 sale hit $10,000, which for UFC cards that's like that's like 100K in basketball and football. So you are seeing some like outlandish sales recently from those two. And I'm curious because I think there's a buying opportunity, which I've said this in previous shows on the network, but like Conor McGregor sales haven't really been popping off, and his fight with Michael Chandler's been scheduled now at 303. So I think McGregor is an excellent buying opportunity, and I think Chandler is too, because I personally think Chandler's going to win. So,
wow, yeah, that's really great information because there's not a guy in that I know of. I mean, Sean O'Malley's done pretty good at marketing himself, but there's not been a Conor McGregor type person in the wild,
right,
which is another reason why I think UFC cards are struggling. It seems like UFC is unlike other sports, UFC is completely determinate on the athletes that it needs to market. Almost in like the way that like it's almost like a way that a movie needs like the right casting for it to really pop off, and not that UFC is fake or that it is acting, but it needs personalities to be good.
right.
And as soon as they vault one personality and then he loses, it's kind of like, well, what do we do?
I think that's the biggest problem now is that MMA has advanced so much as a sport just within the last 10 years. That like when the popular guys do get the title, like because like Sean O'Malley, I don't even think he's favorited for his next fight that's rumored against Marab Viashili, or I don't know how to say his last. His name's Marab. I saw him in Anaheim. He's an animal, but like especially because like the exciting guys are the guys knocking people out. They're your Max Holloway, your Sean O'Malley, typically boxers. Israel Adesanya, kickboxer, but you just have these guys in UFC where like if that's your only thing now, like 10 years ago, you could get away with just being a good kickboxer, just being a good boxer.
Yeah.
But now people are just good at every part of MMA that it's hard to keep your title for long. So I think that's
do you think
like
the overall UFC brand has struggled?
I don't think the brand has struggled because if you just ask like I don't know, because if you ask like your average person, like, do you know who Dana White is? I feel like they'd say yes. Like they have Dana White, they have Joe Rogan broadcasting, and they have some names. I think the main issue is just they haven't found a way to get UFC people into cards. Which is crazy because like when we went to the National, we went to some casino, Backyard Breaks had like a private suite at a casino, and they invited all these people. They invited us, and this suite is just full of card people. Everyone's rooting on you. Everyone's betting on UFC, watching the UFC fight, but like none of those people in those room have UFC cards. So I think it has mostly to do
Other
with
than you.
Panini.
Other than you.
than me. I think it has a bigger issue to do with Panini, and hopefully Topps will fix this, is marketing the cards better. I don't know. Because I think UFC as a brand is doing really good. They merged with WWE into TKO, and like that stock has risen drastically over the last 6 months. So
Yeah. Which is crazy too because of all the stuff that's coming out about the WWE.
right.
Anyway,
Which WWE is on fire. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that.
yeah, so I was going to use Brock
dude.
Lesnar as my segue into WWE. But I will go ahead and before we do that, I'll give some shout out to Joel Kaplan. We got Mark Drzinski, Janelle Shue, and of course we got FC Horsey Boys, which is Trey, out here listening to the pod. We very much greatly appreciate you guys. Go out and check us out at LeftyCards on Twitter and LeftyCards on Instagram, LeftyCards on YouTube as well. And we're also on Twitch, and we're trying to cast multiple places. So I'm trying to get to 500 followers on YouTube. So if you guys could rally the troops there, that would be incredible. So for our next segue, though, we're going from UFC. They merged their stock with WWE, became TKO. Stock's risen. There's all this stuff with WWE, and then there's the what's it called last weekend or 2 weekends ago that you went to?
WrestleMania, baby.
WrestleMania, sorry. All I could think of was cage match, and I was like, that's not right. But so WrestleMania, you went to it. You were in the second row. I wish I had thought over, because I have a picture of you on the TV, and I was gonna bring it up in our next show, but I just totally dropped the ball.
Right.
So it was fun to watch WrestleMania in a groom's suite with a bunch of other people that are really excited about WWE, and then me be like, yo, that's my friend Chase.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty cool to watch. I watched the Saturday WrestleMania. I did not watch the Sunday event because I was traveling, but I know what happened. But
so you missed the fireworks.
Yeah, I missed the fireworks, but I got never mind. I'm not gonna make a joke that'll potentially make us PG-13 on here. But
oh no.
But what I will say is there is a market for wrestling cards too. So do you think there's more of a market for wrestling cards than there are for UFC? And if so, why?
I would say WWE, because they have their card market has been around longer. Like there's vintage like 70s wrestling cards.
Yeah.
Whereas this UFC as a whole company has only been around like 20 years. So there's definitely like, especially in the older stuff, like that's a whole market that UFC is just not gonna hit on because there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like I think the oldest UFC card that has relevance that I can think of off the top of my head, I think John Jones is in like 2009. So compared to like you have like Ric Flair rookies,
yeah,
The Rock has cards, like, you know, all that crazy stuff that you know, that's already gotten people in for the past 40 years. So
sure.
Which Topps is also getting the WWE license soon.
Oh, that's great.
So I don't
I think it's funny that one of them is very real, one of them is very unreal.
Yes.
You know, but they really do kind of mirror each other because they need to have the prolific person to be able to market their product. And the prolific man, I got
prolific.
The prolific athletes are the ones that sell cards.
Right.
I mean, all across any sport, sometimes the prolific athletes sell better than the best athlete. And we know that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like Mike Trout's sales don't. I mean, like, okay, look at Alvarez from Houston. His sales are not where they should be in terms of athletically who he is.
Yes,
but he doesn't brand himself, you know, and Houston and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I think. I'm really excited to get into WWE cards. I'm not yet, because I want to start a collection of like if there's any photos like from WrestleMania 40, like I want to like put my money into those first. So I'm like kind of waiting for stuff to come out.
Because you were there?
Yeah, because I was there, and like I want to like eventually like get like an autograph card from every person that performed at WrestleMania 40. But I'm kind of just waiting because like if something comes out cool from 40 and like maybe I'm even on the card, like I want to start with that. But WWE has to be good at marketing or else it's gonna fail, right?
Yeah.
And so that's also what I like about WWE against UFC is WWE is literally made for people's entertainment, right? Like that's what I realized when I was there. So this was like my first wrestling show I've been to. We
And
went
you
to a
just went
couple like
you just
that
went balls
weekend.
to the wall and literally
Yeah,
went
yeah, yeah.
fourth
We went to
row.
some indie shows that weekend, but that weekend was like my first experience. And you really, because like I feel like I'm in the camp of most people. I watched it when I was a kid, and as I got older, I realized it was fake, and I kind of lost interest in it. But when I was there live, it's like something just clicked, and it's like, wait, everything they do is for us, the viewer.
Yeah.
And whereas Dana White tries to do that with the UFC, like you can have some really boring, like the fight before the Gaethje Holloway fight, it was Charles Oliveira versus Armand, which is a super hyped up fight. And then it went the distance. It was a lot of wrestling, and then like it was a split decision. So one judge had the judges didn't even agree on who won, and so like you have that compared to like WWE, where is literally made for entertainment.
Yeah.
And like I think that's so. There's been a lot of issues with Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon like being in the news, but like so Triple H took over,
Yeah.
and this was like the WrestleMania 40 was like the first thing he did, and it was like wildly successful.
Yeah.
So now like everything's pointing in the right direction, and I'm pretty excited for it. I
The
have my
fact that
chair
I
back
watched
there.
it. There you go. The fact that
Roman
I
Reigns.
watched WrestleMania and I've only ever seen 2 WrestleManias ever in my life. And I happened to watch it.
And more so than that, like how many clips did you see of it?
Oh, a ton.
Of the second night.
I mean, obviously because you were there, I saw a frick ton on my Instagram. But and I have a couple of buddies that are really into wrestling. And so that was actually a good segue for me to talk to them about what I do with sports cards, because they were like, "Oh, you can make money doing this," and they were like, "Oh, is there wrestling cards?" And I was like, "Yes, there is." Like, and so like the red and yellow Hulk Hogan card from back in the day.
Yeah.
We were looking at prices of that card, and they were just like, "What the heck? This is crazy." So I think we got like 5 new guys in our potential hobby huddle. But let's move on. We talked quite a bit about UFC and wrestling. I think we will come back to this because like with somebody like you on a podcast, we want to play to our strengths, and you know a lot about UFC and a lot about wrestling. And so we'll keep doing that, especially because you have probably made me one of the largest sellers of UFC on eBay. So as I can sign your cards. So it's just funny to see all these UFC cards that I was like, I don't even know.
And that's the stuff I don't want. Imagine what I
Exactly.
have that I'm keeping.
Hey man, keep sending it. But we're going to go into some current buys and sells. So, Crim, what are you currently buying and selling?
Okay. So I said this 2 weeks ago, and I think everyone should be doing this, especially if you're going out to shows. That way, I like utilizing shows because you can buy stuff below eBay comps.
Yeah.
So liquid football quarterbacks, especially within like the $250 to like $2,000 range. Now it is a little different because I'm also buying for a shop, and so that stuff will just always move in a shop no matter what time of year it is. But I do think that you can hold that for like 3 or 4 months, make some money on it. And then I have more of a speculative buy. It might turn into a long-term hold, so I don't know if people are going to be interested in this as much. But Topps case hits are extremely undervalued compared to Panini case hits.
Okay.
So I have a card right here, but I have a Corbin Carroll Let's Go that is comes out of Finest, 1 per case. It's a PSA 10. So the price tag's on at $350. I didn't pay that for that. So just imagine I paid $300 for it. Like, and it's a rookie too, and it's 1 per case. Like, what does like a Joe Burrow Color Blast do? PSA 10, it's like $8,000 compared to $300. So like, I just see and with Topps getting the license soon, I think that those same people that are in love with the Kabooms, in love with the Color Blasts, are going to find other Topps case hits to dive into. So like the Let's Go's, Supernovas out of Cosmic are another good looking one. And so if you do want to make money on those right now, I'd probably just say buy raw and grade. But I do think they're a stronghold long term, as well as Topps.
The Bowman Nugget card.
Yes, the gold nugget one.
Yeah,
are those numbered?
No, but I believe it's a case hit too.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Like, if it was a Panini card, it'd be thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
And it's not. And then I also have Topps Dynasty RPAs.
Okay.
Let's just do this. Who would you say is a like top baseball young guy that'll have a Dynasty RPA?
Juan Soto.
Does Juan Soto have? Was Dynasty around? I don't think.
Does it have to be newer?
2018. So Topps Dynasty out of 10 RPA. BGS 9, $3,800. So who would you say is a similar Juan Soto to in baseball or in basketball or football?
Shoot, I don't know.
Herbert. So that's $3,800 compared to a Herbert NT RPA. So this is a BGS 9, same grade, 17.4K.
Wow.
For the best RPAs of each one. Because Dynasty, I'd say most people would say is Topps' best RPA. Basketball, football, it's probably NT. It's at 17.4 compared to what was it, 3.8?
Yeah.
So I just feel like once the Topps once the market moves from Panini to Topps, that some of that stuff is gonna like be ingrained in people's minds. Like now Topps has done a tremendous job with first Bowmans. That's not me knocking like first Bowman autos.
Yeah.
But I just think that when people come over, they're going to be used to be buying case hits and RPAs. And so that's what there's going to be a massive influx of demand, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Especially because baseball has made some terrible looking RPAs.
Yes.
Especially with Panini making the RPAs, and then they are non-licensed RPAs, and they look horrendous. And then Leaf makes some RPAs for baseball, and those look even worse. They look like they're made for $5. And so,
I'm seeing if Juan Soto has a flawless rookie auto, and see what that sells compared to his Topps licensed RPA. Yeah, so Juan Soto also has flawless RPAs that sell for like $1,800. So it's like barely less than the Dynasty RPAs that are licensed, which is crazy.
That's weird. See, that's what I think. I think you're onto something there, because if people are willing to pay almost as close to that for a non-licensed card, they should be willing to go for that for a licensed card. So definitely onto something there. I feel like I'm about to sneeze.
It's fine. Man. I got you. I'll entertain chat while you're about to sneeze.
All right. I'm good. Just look like I've been crying now. Janelle Shue says, I've been watching quarterbacks, Burrow, Hurts, Tua, Love, and keeping an eye on sophomore quarterbacks, Stroud, Richardson, and Levis. I think the guy who's going to be the most exponential gainer in that second group is Richardson. I think he has a ton of upside in the market, for instance. Stroud has shown what he can do. Levis has shown what he can't do. And and Richardson hasn't really gotten a chance to do any either. So I think selling Richardson before the season starts is a move for me.
I think he's going to be hot at the National because he's
Yeah.
also the only one out of those that will have licensed odds.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I think we talked about that last episode that we were on. So, my buys and sells, I've been selling a lot. As Paul talked about earlier this year, 2024 is the year of the lefty, and about how I've just been making some great moves and just buying good cards last year and selling them for profit this year. And so really I've just been profiting in March. March and April are typically my best sell months. And when I'm in a sell month, I very rarely am buying. And I know that sounds weird. And it's because my portfolio is actually not as big as probably people would think. Like I probably have anywhere between 10 or 15 high value cards at a time. And like people like Crim, for instance, or people that have card shops and things, their portfolios are much larger than mine. And so when I am buying and selling, typically I get mega super focused on selling my cards and I don't try to differentiate. But I will say I made one buy today that I'm going to talk about in my soccer section, which is going to also talk about this sell that I've made recently. And it's one of the largest sales that I've actually ever made. So we're going to hold that for a little bit. But once per show, we like to talk about Whatnot. Get $15 on Whatnot by joining through whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. It's a great place to go and buy singles. It's a great place to hang out when you are struggling sleeping at night. Everybody's on Whatnot. There's places that you can get cards that you've never even heard of, and there's also things that you can do, and they're like games and breaks and things. If you're bored and you're wanting to get into the hobby, try out Whatnot. Just go sit in some streams, see what cards are going for. I'm sure it'll blow your mind. So Whatnot, get $15 by joining through whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. All right, let's go into our deep cuts. This is actually my favorite section that we do on the Lefty Cards show, because we just get to kind of focus on 4 sports here. We do football, basketball, baseball, and soccer, and we basically just say, okay, who's a guy? It used to be like, okay, who are guys nobody's talking about, and let's talk about them. And really what it's become, even though we call it deep cuts, is it's a look at, okay, where have we not been focusing for a while, and let's hone in on somebody right here. And so usually I do is I give 2 to my co-host, and then I do 2 as well. And so today I'm going to do football, and then Crim is going to do basketball. I am going to do soccer, and then Crim is going to do baseball. Yes, you heard it
Switching
here.
it up.
Crim is going to do baseball. Lefty McKee, Mr. Baseball Card, is not going to do baseball today. So I'll just go ahead and start with football. And my simple question is it time to return to Zach Wilson? And I know that sounds crazy, Crim, but I said earlier this year, I said, I was talking to Connor and Paul. I said, I know you guys don't like Aaron Rodgers, but I think there's a good buying opportunity for Aaron Rodgers because I think that he will sell pretty well before the season starts next year. And then I also threw out an argument. I think there's an opportunity to buy into Zach Wilson. And here's why. Is because I think there is an athletic quarterback in there someday that will win a football game. Now, he's not worth a second round or a number 2 overall draft pick when the other guys around him were Trevor Lawrence and obviously Trey Lance didn't do so hot either, but
there used to be a lot of good guys around them, and now
there used to be.
So
Jamar Chase is up there, and his cards sell well for a non-quarterback. And then Kyle Pitts is up there. We're not going to even refer to Kyle Pitts because he hasn't even done anything in the NFL. So the number 2 draft pick in the 2021 draft, Zach Wilson, his cards are pretty cheap right now, Crim. I found today, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, but I found an auction today that ended today of a rookie ticket auto PSA 10, and it sold. What do you just without looking? What do you think it sold for?
Don't put me on the spot. $60.
Right on, my man. It sold for $54. And so this card sold for a ton of money at one point because Zach Wilson was one of the guys that everybody was looking for. And he just got traded. Mark Drzezinski, yes, you're right here. He said he just signs with the Broncos. Yes, that is why I'm talking about him today. He just got traded to the Broncos for a 6th-round draft pick. And in that Broncos quarterback room is none other than Jared Stidham and Ben DiNucci.
Ooh, those are two local guys for me, Kendall.
Yes, I
don't
know.
know.
But what I am saying is both of these dudes probably don't beat Zach Wilson out on the hype train. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
whether they beat them out for a quarterback one is I'm not ready to discuss that yet. But what I am ready to discuss is when you look at these 3 quarterbacks in a Broncos quarterback room right now on the 22nd. Now, everything could change in 2 days, and I do want to talk about that as well. But on the 22nd, you would think that Zach Wilson is probably going to be the starter in week 1. And if he is, that card is going to sell for more than $54. That card is probably going to sell for a lot more than that. I would imagine this card, if healthy and if he has a good preseason and he starts week 1 and he goes, and he actually wins a game for the Broncos, I think this card could easily go back north of 3 figures. I mean, we could see 250 on this card, I think. So I think people are scared of Zach Wilson right now, but I think when you don't look at the name and you just think about the money, Zach Wilson could be a place to go right now. Here's another thing I want to address with this. The one thing that I'm a little bit nervous about here is I think that the NFL draft is something that's very interesting for the Broncos. Currently, ESPN having them trading out of their 12th round or their number 12th pick and trading it to the Eagles and trading back. But there's a strong quarterback class in this draft. And the guys that are going to go ahead of probably the 12th pick are Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy. Will probably all go before that 12th pick by the Broncos. That leaves Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, and Michael Penix Jr. for the next tier. Now, I wouldn't even say that they're both in a tier. I would say Spencer Rattler is probably not in the same tier as the other. But what
I'd say Bo Nix and Penix, like if they win at the back end of the first round, no one would be surprised.
No, I don't think. And I think most people have Penix slipping to the second. But here's my argument here. Bo Nix, I just have a small feeling that he is Zach Wilson 2.0. And so when I look at this, when I think about the Broncos, I don't think they're going to go out and go get another Zach Wilson and Bo Nix because that's the guy that would be available at that 12th pick. And I don't feel like they're going to stretch at the 12th pick for Michael Penix Jr. either because they could trade back and get Penix Jr. late. Now, I would compliment them if they did go draft Michael Penix Jr. because I believe that he is one of the most underrated guys in this draft class. And what we saw with him in the playoffs last year, he's a good quarterback and he's mobile. He's just, I would argue that him and Jaden Daniels really aren't that far away from each other. And Jaden Daniels is so much more hyped because he went to LSU. Now, and he won a Heisman, so it's like, anyway, all that to say, Zach Wilson, I believe, is a good investment right now if you're willing to blindly make money, Crim. Blindly making money, I believe that you can buy Zach Wilson right now and then sell him in August, barring that there is no draft pick in 2 days. Like, let's say, what if J.J. McCarthy slips to the 12th pick? Now that's not going to happen probably, but what if he does slip to the 12th pick? Or what if Drake May slips further and then not to the 12th pick, but what if Drake May slips further than 3 or 2 and then that throws off all the other stuff and then you've got players going on and then all of a sudden J.J. McCarthy is ready at 12th. I would pull the trigger on JJ other than Bo Nix, but I'm just saying I think the Broncos are probably going to roll out Zach Wilson for week 1.
You're in Kentucky, so you might know the term, but one of those things they put on the horses to like zero in their vision or whatever.
Just blinders.
You're gonna for you to talk me into Zach Wilson, I'm gonna have to like put those on and just be like, because I do think generally it's a good idea to be buying starting quarterbacks this time of year. So if he does survive the draft unscathed, if you will, I don't hate it. As a cheap buy, it's a solid, like it's a very good cheap buy, you know.
Would you rather have now? I think this is an interesting
Well, I'm biased. If you're going to the chat question,
I didn't
that's
see
what.
the chat question.
Oh,
Would you rather buy Zach Wilson or Trey Lance? Well, we've been talking about Trey Lance quite a bit, and with Dak Prescott being, up on the fence right now, I would personally.
I
Let me
would
put
say
it this
Trey
way,
Lance, but
Matt
I'm
Lane.
biased.
Let me put it this way. I feel like the short-term gain is Zach Wilson.
Yes.
I feel like the Trey Lance is probably a smarter play, but I think it's a longer play.
Because we know long-term Zach Wilson's probably not going to work out.
Yeah, probably not.
We don't know about Trey Lance.
So Matt Lane says, no bias, no bias. You can't have bias. Don't think about the star on his helmet.
I'd probably say Trey Lance just because I don't think the Cowboys are going to commit to Dak. And if you're the starting quarterback of the Cowboys, then you're not going to have a Contenders auto sell for $50.
So. Okay, fair. Well, I'm gonna say Zach Wilson just from the short term gain.
Right.
And I have been quoted on this show or not this show, but on the Sports Card Strategy Network saying that I do like Zach Wilson, and I do. I think there's a good quarterback in there somewhere, but he just freaks out, dude. He just freaks out. But anyway, so I think that this would be a good time for us to get in on Zach Wilson, make a couple bucks, and get out and put it into Trey Lance after that. So
the Cougar Hunter.
Cougar Hunter, baby, from BYU. What a guy. All right, let's go to basketball, Crim. Get us out of this Zach Wilson talk.
Yeah, I'll get us out of this gunker swamp, the Zach Wilson swamp. So I have a guy that you wouldn't think is necessarily a deep cut because I feel like a lot of people have heard of this guy, and he's a fairly young guy, Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers. I think he's like second-year guard. He made a lot of noise around the All-Star weekend with the Rising Stars Challenge and stuff like that. Had a pretty good season, averages like 15 points. Not bad for a second-year player. But unfortunately, he's not with the Pacers playoff team because he got hurt about a month or two ago. But with that being said, I think his injuries created an excellent buying opportunity. I have some sales pulled up. So we're looking at his Prism rookie 2022 autos. So like his base signatures Prism autos. So last sale is $11.
Wow.
27 for silver, 15, 10. And it's also a redemption. So there's also some redemption sales. So you might be able to snipe a redemption pretty cheap too. 15, 22. So for a guy that's like played pretty well his first 2 years in the league and has proven he can be a solid player on the team we think is going to be a playoff team going forward, a rookie auto for $15, like that's solid. Like this isn't Zach Wilson. Like we know Mathurin can play and can contribute. So I really like Mathurin, especially with some of those redemption sales you might be able to get a steal on, just because it's the actual redemption card. And we know Panini has them because they're sales of the actual card. So I do like that play. And then I also have a women's basketball player.
Let's go, dude. First off, I want to respond to the Mathurin play. Yeah. So here's some just average sales of some three of his cards. Two of them that I don't really care about. Mm-hmm. One of them is a silver. This is from Market Movers, and they don't always pick all the autos for their charting system.
Right.
But this is his PSA 10 silver, which we talk a lot about Prism Silver being one of the most investable cards that you could make for a for a non-auto card
Mhm.
in the hobby. So he's clocking in at $98.99 for a silver prism right now. That's really not bad considering his teammate Halliburton is around 400, I believe.
Right.
So, you know, of course he's not Halliburton.
No.
But what he is he is a productive role player on a team that will be young and fighting for screen time. And so, you know, at one point this was down to $61. So it's kind of impressive to me that
It's
he's
probably gone up due to the Pacers being good.
Yeah, you're probably right. But what I will say is, like, for it to be going up while he's not playing shows you who is paying attention.
Right.
So I do think that Mathurin is a good buy,
Mhm.
and I'm so excited for your next buy. This is something that if I had a pot to bang in everybody's ear right now, just to be like, kang, 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 this is a buy that I would just be hammering. So give it to us.
Which, if you do want to leave this chart up, if you on this particular chart, you see the autograph hasn't sold in a while.
This one,
but the autograph has actually gone down based off the recent sales I'm looking at.
Yep.
Where his silver
$100.
prism has actually gone up over the last 3 months.
Yep. The last sale of the auto was last November, and it went down $193 from its previous sale. So,
and that's a 10.
Yeah.
And right now the raws that aren't on the chart are doing like 11 to 15.
Wow.
So that tells me that the autograph is down, but the silver is up, right? Which that's one of those things with cards that doesn't make sense. You just have to accept it, right?
Yep.
So I do like getting into his autos.
And his mosaic silver is up as well.
Right.
Which doesn't matter.
Which I would rather have a prism autograph than a silver mosaic.
Oh, absolutely.
For the same price.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the next person I'm talking about is a lady.
Come on.
Which also shout out Caitlin Clark for blowing up like women's basketball.
Yes. Right? Yes.
And Janelle might be onto something. Janelle Shue says Paige Beckers is on my buy list for next year. She's going to be the star college player next year. Well, Janelle.
Come on, Janelle.
Janelle, we need to get you on the show because that's who we're talking about.
Yes. Paige Beckers.
I mean, yeah. So she had to share the spotlight with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, more so Caitlin Clark, but you know, Angel Reese takes up part of that too. And they are no longer they're going to the WNBA. So right now, Paige Beckers, it's her, and then Juju Watkins are like the names people know now. I do prefer Paige over Juju though, because of the UConn like women's basketball tradition or whatever you want to call it. Like we know UConn's going to be relevant, whereas USC is kind of like off and on.
Yeah.
And so it looks like the last sale on her Bowman Chrome first auto is 120. Not bad. That might drop a little bit with the off season, but not saying she's going to get the Caitlin Clark numbers. But
is this the card you're looking at?
It's the first 120. It was a OBO. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last one that's on Market Movers here is 150.
Okay.
But the
I did pull up one that was 120 OBO. So
yeah, there is a 129 as well. Regardless, yeah, like this is this is the last 365 days here. So the last year, it's pretty stable for her. Like there hasn't been an aggressive movement, even though there has been a ton of money coming into women's basketball. And so Paige Bucher has decided to do the extremely intelligent move and stay at school. The draft class or the signing class, I believe it's a 2020 signing class, had all of the women right now that are exploding in college basketball were all like top 5 picks in 2020 in terms of recruitment.
Right.
And like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, I forget the girl's name from South Carolina, but like the girl who just won the national championship. We've got Paige in there, and then JoJo, I believe, is the other one. Sorry,
Juju.
man. Juju. And
Juju.
so these 5 were in 2020. They were all like, these are the girls you're going to want to have. And they all worked out, which is really awesome for girls basketball. But what Paige did to vault her audience was she decided to I don't know if this was actually to vault her audience or not, but she stayed in school so that she can go out and be the number 1 draft pick next year. Like, I know it's not like like there's been so many posts about how underpaid Caitlin Clark is right now. Like her salary is like $73,000.
Like her superfractor auto sold more than her salary.
Yeah, it's like she's making 73 in her first year, and I think 78, I think, is what her superfractor went for. So crazy. Caitlin Clark should just start buying her own cards and investing in herself. But hey, I'm on something.
Kendall, here's something good. So Caitlin Clark's first auto, if you're comparing like the first autos, actually this is a refractor. So I have the last. So a PSA authentic did 700.
Wow.
Is the last sale I'm seeing on eBay. Actually 695. So I don't think Paige will reach the heights that Caitlin Clark did.
Yeah.
But just if you set that as the ceiling set the ceiling at 700 for that card, and that's an authentic. If that's a PSA 10, it's even more. But Paige is well below that ceiling right now.
Yeah, look at this chart.
120 to 150, yeah.
I mean, so obviously, as I agree with you, she's not going to reach Caitlin Clark's status. No one's going to reach Caitlin Clark's status for a while, I believe. No one's going to sign a massive shoe deal in the WNBA with Nike like Caitlin Clark just did, and she's going to make more money on endorsements than most athletes because she's going to have to supplement. So she's going to get her money. Caitlin's going to get paid, but it's just not going to be from the WNBA. It might be from the big 3. I don't know if you saw that, but Paige is also going to be drafted number 1 probably next year because she held out, because she went back to UConn. She can go back, win a natty, come out and be the number 1 draft pick potentially next year, potentially her Juju, unless there's an injury or somebody just literally comes out of nowhere. That's going to be the top number 1 and number 2 buys. So love this pick right here.
Side note, but I also think WNBA wax this year could be a good long-term hold with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and other people that I don't know because I'm just a mainstream women's basketball.
That's okay. One person I did just pick up, actually. I picked it up at Bleecker Trading, which I'm wearing the hat that I bought as well when I bought this card. I bought a Sabrina Ionescu PSA 10 auto.
Nice.
So Sabrina is another woman in the WNBA who is very marketable. She's marketable from a lot of standpoints. I mean, they put her in the So I bought a PSA 10 2021 Prism auto of hers. They ended up coming down $40 to sell it to me because I was so excited about being in their shop. I did pay over comps for it, but if I lose money on this, I'm okay with it. I wanted to buy
solid.
Bleecker.
But theoretically speaking, there's going to be more eyes on WNBA this season than ever before. Right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, Janelle says, I've been thinking about holding some Clarks as long-term investments. I think she's going to continue changing the game similar to Jordan, dare I say. I think it's possible. I think she
already has for women's basketball, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. She already has changed women's basketball. It's just a matter of can she take it to the next level?
Like she's taking it to the college level, but can she take the pro level?
And her televised games, she has only 3 games that are not going to be nationally televised. They've already moved several of her games to other arenas so that they can sell more tickets.
Right.
And she is in a small market that will just love her in Indiana, which her boyfriend works in the front office. So I don't think she's going anywhere. And so I think Caitlin is going to be Fanatics honestly biffed this one, but they didn't even make enough jerseys for her. Like they're on back order until October or something like that.
They also, Panini got her exclusive auto license.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know if you saw that, but
no, I did not. But pretty awesome. She is changing the game. I said this last week on the episode that we did with Connor that did not air, so I'll say it again. I think there's a lot of similarities right now, and this is not Kindle. This is me regurgitating some other articles that I've read. So I don't want to say that I came up with this, but in the 70s when Magic and Bird were coming out, you know, the NBA needed somebody to hang their hat on. They needed a rivalry, like a rivalry that was so so dualistic that you could either gravitate to one or the other. You know, and her and Angel's rivalry is the
right.
same way. You know, like there are little girls that can identify with either one of them, whether they're a big post or whether they're a shooter. Like you can identify with either of the players. Their play style is different. Their demeanor is different. The way they handle the media is different. And so that's exactly how Magic and Bird were. And so I think this will bring eyes to the WNBA in the way that the NBA was struggling and potentially fighting bankruptcy in the 70s. And now look where it is. The WNBA is a young league still. You know,
The
so
WNBA needs to treat those two as like a WWE rivalry. Like they just need to
come on,
market that, and
dude.
like so many people will watch.
Absolutely.
Like how many people watched the LSU Iowa game?
18.3 million,
Oh
I
my
think.
gosh!
And
Like,
there are other girls in WNBA, specifically like Sabrina Ionescu and a few others that their cards will rise because people will be like, "Oh, frick, this girl's good." You know, like Plum will also have some run here because she's a great person that also just came out of UConn as well. You know, and so there are other girls in this sport that their money will rise. We saw Brittany Griner's autos rise last year for outside of basketball. But you know, like she is a name that everyone knows. You know, there are other people in the sport that people know, and so there will be something to gravitate towards. So I love the call, love it. Let's jump into a soccer play, and then we're gonna jump into your baseball play since we are going overtime today, my friend. So all right, my soccer play right now is actually one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites. It is something I wake up in the middle of the night and I check my phone and I look on eBay and I have a saved search for this guy, National Treasures, or this guy, Kaboom. I love buying Christian Pulisic cards. Like, I know it seems simple, and I know it's like, okay, you could talk about a prospect or something. You know, we talked about Hoyland and Xavi Simons and all this kind of stuff, and now you're just bringing Christian Pulisic to the front. Yes, Christian Pulisic, I believe, will go down. Actually, I mean, this isn't even a hot take. He will go down as the most successful United States men's national team player of all time. He's already almost halfway to Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan's records, and he's 25 years old. Yes, Christian Pulisic, the guy that you've been hearing about for seems like 50 years, is 25 years old. He is the United States men's national team captain. We rise and fall on his leadership. He's the kind of guy that shoulders the mantle of the leadership. Like he just gets the fact that he is the United States Captain America. Like he is who we thought he was going to be. And I'm really, really, really excited about him. Now, he is getting a massive contract considerations from AC Milan because he has been destroying the Italian league. He needed to move away from Chelsea. I didn't like the move to Chelsea in the beginning when he moved there from Dortmund, but he goes to AC Milan, is destroying, has another United States teammate with him in Yunus Musa out there. So he's able to build chemistry even in the club setting with a guy who's going to be in the first team. And I could see this being a long-term home for a United States men's national team player, and which also means that we should probably look at AC Milan being another team where kids are growing up right now watching Christian Pulisic play, and they're going to want to go play for AC Milan just like Christian did. And I think we will see other men's national team players going to the Italian league or potentially to AC Milan to do what Christian did. But I also think there is a ton of selling opportunities over the next 6 to 12 months based on the summer cycle of how many United States men's national team competitions there will be this year. There's the Copa, which is a astronomical tournament, and he will get an opportunity to potentially be a long-term evaluation because he could be either a short-term flip or a long-term flip in terms of we are going to see him be the best soccer player of all time, potentially, as it goes down into history. And I want to have more of his cards, and I always am looking for a steal on a Pulisic card. So I talked about this last week on the episode that did not air, but this is a new piece. I am bigger on his United States men's national team kits because of obvious reasons. He's got cards that are in the Dortmund kit. He's got cards in Chelsea, which I'm completely fading because I think that will go down in history as one of the clubs that people forget he played for. AC Milan, I think I don't have any of his cards there, but I haven't even actually seen any yet. But what I will say is the United States men's national team kits, the National Treasure specifically, or the Kaboom is what I'm looking for. And so, Chase, as of today, as of literally an hour and a half ago, I have acquired a 2018 PSA 10 Kaboom of Christian Pulisic. There's only 50.
Oh.
There's only 50 out there, and the last one to sell was 600, and that was a year ago. The PSA 9 is already selling for like 900. So I know that I ended up getting into this card. Shout out to the Cardinal Cards on Instagram. I reached out to him on eBay because I was like trying to comp the card, and it said that he had removed the ad from eBay. Reached out to him and I said, hey, what did you sell the card for? I'm interested in comping that in for sales for me arguing another guy into like potentially in agreement with another guy. And he goes, I still have it. And are you the lefty from the Sports Card Strategy Show? And I was like, I am. And he's like, reach out to me on Instagram and let's get this deal done. So we got this deal done. So shout out to the Cardinals Cards and shout out to this network getting me into a card that I have wanted for a long time. And Chase, I got into this card because I sold Caleb Williams last week. So I told you guys that I was telling you about a big sale. I bought into a Caleb Williams Color Blast from Crim, and he said I have had good numbers recently sending BGS 9.5s into PSA and getting PSA 10s. So I think you should buy this from me. I'll crack it and then I'll send it to PSA and then we'll just see what happens. It came back at 10. So I ended up buying it for $600, paid $75 for the grading fee, sold it for $12.75. So that was a heck of a turnaround in less than 6 months. And I was able to get in and out of Caleb Williams before the draft. And then I was able to put that money into a guy that I believe in long-term, Christian Pulisic Kaboom, 2018 Christian Pulisic Kaboom. He does have a 2017, but that's about 2.8, 2.9K. And I didn't quite have that money. So I went ahead and got the 1.2 to 5-ish K Kaboom for 2018 Christian Pulisic. So definitely high on Pulisic right now. High on him long term as well. And as Sean read, I'm assuming maybe that is no, it's not. Sean Redcard said we should all forget Chelsea. I believe that. I stand behind that. So anything you want to say about Mr. Christian Pulisic?
I defer all my soccer investments to you.
That's
you
fine.
Haven't led me astray yet. But I will say, in our shop, we always try to keep at least one Pulisic card because we know we'll sell it within the week.
Yeah, what I was going to say is if you didn't have anything to say, I was going to say one time, like pretty recently, we had a discussion about how you say you are always buying Christian Pulisic at the shop, and it's a guy that moves very, very easily. I love buying Christian Pulisic cards. I have a National Treasures out of 10 auto at PSA right now that I'm just hoping gems. Oh my gosh, that would be sick. But this Kaboom is the next biggest item that I have of Christian Pulisic, and I'm looking to acquire more. So
it's a sick card.
Yeah,
sick card. And honestly, I also, like from my just going to shows flipping perspective, like you can get double of what the 9 sold for a 10, like easily.
Interesting. Okay.
So you'll have to come off that price a little bit, but like.
So I mean, the comps are like nothing is sold in a while for this card.
Most of you one's a 9 that did 990, right?
Yeah. So if somebody came into the shop right now, what would you comp this at? Like, walk us through that mentality.
So I would see a 10 hasn't sold in some time, and I'd see a 9. And I would see that in the same month, PSA 9's done 990 and one's done 7. And usually I would double from a 9 to a 10. So I'd value it at 15.
All right.
And then if I could buy it for 12, I'd be happy.
Well, that's what I did.
That's what you did. So
yeah.
But that being said, I would take it to a show and then I would put a $1,800 sticker on it.
Yeah.
Because
you best believe
because I would like kind of average the two, but if I'm buying, I'd obviously try and get to the lowest one. But that's when you can that's why I like sports cards, because you can choose whatever comp you want to use, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's there. So like the other person doesn't know you bought off the $700 comp. Like they just see the most recent one did 990 and they're like, oh, yeah, that's fair. So
now here's an issue I potentially have, Crim.
Mm-hmm.
I also am the highest bidder on one right now. So if anybody wants to go buy this card, I'm the highest bidder on the one that's on auction right now. So if you would like, I will not fight you for it.
Is it a 9 or a 10?
It's a 10. There's one on auction right now. That's a 10.
I think Janelle just said that in the chat.
Yeah, is this a horizontal kaboom from Pulitzer's 2018? You said there's one on eBay auction right now, ends in 2 days. Yes, I am the highest bidder on that card. So if you would like to also be in with me on this, I currently think that this is a great buy. Plus, I'm not going to fight you because I just bought a different one. So
I also think the 2017, I think the 2018 one looks better.
That's what I was going to say.
Whereas body's like twisted in the air.
Yeah, he's going for the bicycle kick in the 2017, which is cool. But I love the knee slide. The knee slide. 2018. Todd Nichols says, "Hey yo, it's the boys. What's up, Nichols? How are you? How are you, Toddy? Toddles, my man. Surviving cancer. Atta babe. Love it. All right, so let's go to your baseball guy, and then we will quickly just jump to your reserve driver. So go ahead and talk about all three of your guys.
Okay, which that works because they're all prospects.
Yeah. And I have stuff that I can add to all this. So you just let me know when you want me to talk.
Just feel free to jump in whenever. So my first one, my actual buy that wasn't a reserve driver, is Emmanuel Rodriguez, prospect for the Twins. He's currently 21 in AA. And if you know me, I have been buying him for 2 years, a long time.
Have you been holding him for 2 years?
So some of the card, I have some here. So I was buying his base cards when they were like $10 to $12, and I was buying his refractor autos when they were like.
You were buying into Twins breaks.
I was
with me.
I was
when I was a breaker.
And those right now are like 45 and like $100. So I sold all my base and all my refractor to 499s, and I sold my gold because his gold for some reason shot up to like 2,500, and I was into it for like 450, and I was like, yes, I will sell this now. But I still have some. I almost had a full rainbow at some point, but I have a red shimmer 9.5. So this isn't just me saying, oh, you should buy this guy. This is me also buying this guy with you. That's an orange PSA 9. I have a yellow 10. And then I have two speckles, 9.5 and a 9. So I just wanted to show that I'm actually buying this guy. He's off to an unbelievable start this year.
Yeah, he is. He's going crazy.
WRC Plus is 222.
Yeah.
Which I thought a WRC Plus maxed out at 200.
Nope.
But apparently you can break 200, which league average is 100, and he's at 222.
Yep. League average is 100 for their specific league. So that's him compared to other AA players. I would also like to point out the other two guys you're going to talk about are also above 200 WRC plus.
So he's just an insane player. He's good in center field, which we love that. Shortstop in center field, we love.
Love that.
So he does strike out a bit, but he also walks a lot. So his K percentage is 30%, but his K to walk percentage is 1. So he walks the same amount as he strikes out. His walk percentage is 30%, Kendall.
I know.
So his batting average is 289, but his on base percentage is over 500 because he walks.
And you can look back over that's not just an early season stat.
That's what
him.
He does.
That's him, which is awesome. Like that's an incredible thing to be known for. Is I walk as much as I strike out. Oh, I do strike out a lot, but I also walk a lot.
And when I'm not, I'm dropping bombs.
Yeah. So you know what you're getting from him. You're either getting on first base, or you're getting a 1 run, or 1 out. So you have a 1. Emmanuel Rodriguez comes to the plate. You're getting 1 of 3 things. You're getting a run, a base or a base runner, or a strikeout. That's it.
And when he does get on first, he's stealing it too. So
that's true. Yeah, he does already have 8 stolen bases in 14 games.
So I love him. Been buying him a lot. I just get super excited anytime we talk Emmanuel Rodriguez, because even now he's just an insanely good buy.
I need to know how you got onto him.
I just put
because you literally came out of nowhere when nobody was talking about him when we were first buying him.
So I used to use a very broken formula that we've since kind of fixed. But so when I first started getting into it, all I cared about was home runs. And if you look, and I also was looking at complex league stats, which is a no-no, but
don't do that.
That's how I found him.
Okay.
So if you look at his stat line here, his complex league stats in 2021, he hit 10 home runs in 37 games, which is insane.
1 every 3 games.
And I was like, dude, his auto was like $10. Like, I'll throw money at that. Sure.
And what you didn't look at, I almost had a 40K percentage.
Yeah, at that time, yes. But
that's when you started telling me about this guy, I was like, Crim, this guy is Joey Gallo. Like he strikes out 40% of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm on it with you now. Like I think this guy's real.
Right. But now we look at K percentage, WRC plus, OPS plus, all the things, and he checks all the boxes. So his K percentage is high, but he walks a lot to make up for it. And then my other 2, these were my reserve drivers because they do have somewhat someone shadowing over them. So I have Carson Williams. He's a shortstop in the Rays system. He's currently at AA.
Great.
Last sale of the PSA 10 auto base is 125. His WRC plus in 21 games or 12 games this year is also 239. Which is
I did not help you with this at all, and I will say these reserve drivers, both of the guys that you're going to talk about, are on my short list right now.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you. You're the Bowman guy. But Carson Williams has always just been a solid guy, and he's off to a really good start this year. So if he can jump in while some of his refractors haven't sold in a month or 2, that's a very good opportunity. But he's overshadowed by Junior Caminero, right? But what's interesting is Caminero came up and he's the shortstop of the future. He gets sent down. They have some scrub playing shortstop for him in the majors leagues. But what I found interesting Major leagues. But what's interesting is Caminero hasn't played a game at short this year.
Yeah.
All third base. So I think they know that, hey, he's probably not – Caminero is probably not making it as a shortstop in the league, which that alone belittles his value a little bit. So I like Carson Williams with that. And then Jack Centurio's little brother, is also smashing this year with a 207 WRC plus, and it's just 12 games. But again, everything points to him hitting all the boxes for our formula, right? WRC plus, K percentage isn't too high. Solid ISO, he can hit for power. And he's young, and he's even cheaper than the other two. And with having like Jackson's DNA, he's always going to be compared to Jackson. Like, what's his?
And Jackson's not actually playing very well right now.
So Jason Churio base auto 9, $33.
I'll take it.
And if that was Jackson Churio, it'd probably be like $250.
Yeah, he will have once people realize that he's not just a brother.
Right.
Like Luis Angel Acuna did the same thing. You know, everybody was like, okay, he's Acuna's little brother. Like, is it a marketing ploy? You know, like Topps does this where they put their brothers in the set as well, probably because they have the same manager and it's really easy. You know, from a business standpoint, it's really easy to make that connection. Probably
like Brian Abreu was. Sorry, not Brian Abreu. Brian Acuna was like super early.
Yeah, people loved him out of that Topps Chrome set when and I don't even think he's playing baseball anymore. So it's like, or actually, I think there was I think it might have been Tatis's younger brother who's out of baseball who also had autos.
That sounds more right.
So I think Brian Acuna is still playing, by the way, but I think Tatis's little brother is not playing, but he did have cards that were selling for pretty good money. But you have these brothers that are coming out of the ETA on these guys. Janelle Shu, great question. I think Carson Williams is a little higher on the ETA because the Rays love to move guys into systems fast. Now, Cleveland is also in a system that moves players fairly fast, but Jason is going to be further away. Jason's runway is longer. Carson, Carson could get called up this year. He had games in AAA last year. Yeah. And he's proven at AA in 2 different years. He's had a very solid WRC plus in AA. He had a little small showing at AAA last year, which means that they were flirting with the idea of bringing him up, but they were a playoff team last year. So I would say Carson is probably in the next 6 to 12 months, he's going to be a major leaguer. So he's one of my favorite buys right now. I'm glad that you put him on this list.
And just to show I'm not just saying this,
there you go.
I have a Carson Williams orange, which that's not the price anymore, but and then
no one can see the price. It's like this big.
Perfect. I'm also terrible at holding stuff up in the camera. So.
Yeah, it's just like basically you're just giving yourself the light. You're just like, yeah. So I talked a little bit about Lazaro Montes. He's a guy that I've been buying recently. This guy and then these 2 guys are the guys that I'm picking up right now. So Lazaro Montes and then Jason Churio and Carson Williams are the guys that I am looking for deals on them. And specifically Carson Williams, I believe. Oh, I have one other guy, Thomas Sagasi, who is in he went from
he was in the trade for Montgomery.
Yes. So he was for the trade for Jordan Montgomery to the St. Louis Cardinals last year. And he's got decent power and he's learning from Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. And like there was the call up podcast that Aram does. They just interviewed Sagasi and everything about it. I was like, this guy checks every box for me. I love his investment. I actually already have some of his cards because I collect. Yeah. So Thomas Sagasi is another guy that I'm looking at, and he's probably 5th on this list. If I had to rank Emmanuel Rodriguez, Carson Williams, Jason Churio, Montes, and Sagasi, I'm probably putting Sagasi 5th because of how like he's cheap and he's far away.
Where's Erod at?
Erod's number 3. I'll give it to you. He's number 3. Jason's number 4. I've got Montes number 2, and I've got Carson Williams number 1.
Yeah, so Carson Williams seems.
I mean, you can't just float around the minors doing 239 WRC plus and not getting a call from the GM.
Right.
Like, they're keeping very close eye on him. So I like Carson Williams. I think I like what he's doing right now. So
we need the bum shortstop on the Rays to get hurt. That's what we need. The hobby needs us. I'm not
asking for somebody to get hurt.
I am. I'll flag plant that.
You can flag plant it.
If the hobby needs it, I'm down for it. I'll say that. So
if the hobby needs it, you're down. All right.
we need Cameron Arrow and Carson Williams to make the call up. So.
All right, man. Well, let me go through a couple more things before we do this. I always want to give a shout out to Graybos. You can get 10% off any purchase at graybos.co by using your promo code strategy 2023. Another thing that's great for Graybos is they are the only tops buyer in Central Virginia. They are the guy with the license, so they are going to be the shop that you need to go to for your Bowman needs. Plus, you can get them on Fanatics Live, graybos.co. You can use a strategy 2023. And then additionally, another thing that we love to do is make our cards look really good. And another thing that you can do that for is if you have a PC that you want to have behind you and something like your Crim's Captain America shield here, you can get yourself some CGC cards. It's the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards for their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing. CGC cards is the perfect spot for your grading needs, especially if you're doing TGC grading or if you're doing comic grading. CGC is the way to go. Go to cgccards.com to get started today. Crim, we're at an hour and 20 minutes, brother. We've talked a ton today, and I've loved what we've talked about. Jason Churio, Carson Williams. We've got Benedict Mathurin. We've got Paige. How did you call her? I said Buchers. What did you think?
It's Beckers.
Beckers. Okay, I'll defer. I'll defer to Beckers.
I could be wrong though.
We talked about Pulley, and most of all, we talked about Zach Wilson. So, that's my favorite.
I feel like we talked for an hour and a half and barely scratched the surface. So.
Absolutely. We had to fly through a couple of these. So if you guys have questions, make sure to reach out to us on Instagram. Drop your questions on the DM on LeftyCards, and we will get them answered. Crim and I are just scratching the surface on what we want to do with this show, and we're going to do a live show in May as well. So I hope you guys have fun. Card collecting. We love being in the hobby. We want you to love being here as well. As always, I love having you. Crim, we're going to dance. We're going to dance to some music before you leave. How about that?
Sounds good.
So we are going to be dancing with Feeding the Ducks, which is, by the way, that is what this song is actually called. So that's what we're going to do.
I was trying to go full circle, but my chair hit my desk.
There we go. The song started over anyway. All right, guys, we'll see you later.